Hello, everyone. Welcome to a energy update Sunday sesh, all rolled into one. And who better to come on board and talk about the goings on, as there are many from many dimensional perspectives. I have the beautiful Zara from Guidance by Z, and the one and only soul brother, who this is the very first time I've seen his face since he was of Australia. Lachie, thank you so much for coming back, and it's so beautiful to have the team, the crew here, the ground crew.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
How are you guys?
Beach this time.
No
Good,
beach.
good.
Yeah, no beach.
Yeah, hot and sweaty over in Singapore. I came over here for work, and it's interesting. It's interesting. It's weird because I'm sort of divorced from everything else, like away from all the Western world, all the Western media and stuff, all of the big things that you guys are going through as sort of passed by here. I feel like I'm just sitting on the sidelines a bit, which is not a bad thing. I mean, it's a virus after all.
Yeah, so I guess let's just dive right into it. I've had so many I honestly, for me, I've been so much in observer mode for quite some time. I haven't felt guided to put my face on camera. It's taken a lot to sort of get here today, because there is just so much chaos and confusion. But just being able to view it from all the different levels and all the different perspectives. And I thought that hopefully by bringing Zara and Lachie in, we could talk about the different levels and the different goings on and try and round it up in one nice neat package, because I'm always about seeing things from the bigger perspective, the higher perspective, and how it's in service to everyone's highest good. And I think if I can start off by some of the thoughts that have been coming into my consciousness over the last couple of days, and of course addressing the quarantine and the coronavirus as being the main pivotal focus at the moment. But the analogy that came through today as I was sort of going and driving through the countryside is we've all been through our awakening, haven't we? And I imagine most of the people who are watching this, we've all gone through facing our fears. We've gone through the death of the old, the rebirth over and over again. But this whole self-isolation and quarantine, and I was thinking so much about, my experience in 2016 where, it wasn't because of a virus, but, it was that period of going within and that hermiting and then stepping out, and the whole world was very, very different. And it seems to me
Tower
like,
moment.
yeah, the massive tower moment.
Massive tower moment.
And it seems like we're seeing that on a global scale. And I think there's so much beauty of going within and stepping away from all the distractions, and you come out with a really refined perspective of what's important and what your purpose is. And I can kind of see how it's a great benefit, even though through the chaos and confusion, it's stepping away, stepping back, and going within on a global level, not just small individuals who've been through that process time and time again, but it's happening, and I guess I'm trying to articulate it because there's just been so many thoughts coming through. It's very hard to articulate, but it's like often talk about when your frequency is changing and you're going through your ascension, the outside world doesn't reflect your new state of consciousness. And if you go out into the world, it can be very what's the word I'm looking for? It can be very it doesn't assist the process, is what I'm trying to say. It can really conflict with what's happening in the unraveling process, and only when you're ready to emerge can you start to interact with new reality. And that seems to be, from a higher perspective, that seems to be what's transpiring from my perspective, or one of the aspects. I'd love to hear your take on it, Zara, Lachie.
Zara, you want to jump in, or?
You go for it.
Okay. So yeah, look, you're spot on in the sense that that we've got a lot of people hitting that point at the moment, but I sort of see it very much as a good thing, because it wouldn't get to that point unless there was so much change internally that it can be manifested externally.
Mm.
So we're really, on a global scale, hitting that point of essentially no return, of being so our frequency is hitting such a high point that we're almost you drop all of the things that you don't that don't serve you anymore. And that sort of is the internal process, which gets manifested as the external, literal, shutting down and quarantining and stuff. That's it's incredibly poetic that that when you're you're a monk or you're a spiritual person and you isolate yourself from the world,
Mm.
To focus inwards, and now there's this forced isolation of everyone, or a lot of people staying in their homes. They're having to do things like look after their neighbors, look after their elderly, otherwise they'll literally perish. And it's really great to see everyone stepping up, and I'm sort of not surprised, because we're at that stage now where everyone sort of can look after each other, where in the light. And it's been a fascinating time as well too, because we're seeing not only a big shake up in sort of everyone's personal lives, but corporate world as well is undergoing huge restructuring. Like, think of any American mega corporation, like Facebook or LinkedIn or Disney or whatever, and chances are they've had their CEO step down. Pardon me, they've had major restructuring. It's all happening. It's all coming, and it's all coming on a fractal level, in the sense that we're having these changes inside, and they're manifesting on a vast scale. It's really cool.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And I think that's a really key point that Zara and I sort of we kind of connected a few hours ago, and it just sort of comes out, and that's what happens when you sort of have these conversations. And I said it feels like, I mean, we've been kind of waiting for these type of changes to implement into the physical reality for quite some time, if you've been in the spiritual communities or the truth seeker communities. And it's like the energetic push and unraveling that we've been doing has then brought this into the physical reality for that to change. I just want to share, I mean, I obviously I don't say this with any fear intended, but just to take precautions. And for years, Lachie and I have been discussing about, stocking up on, non-perishable items and having enough water just to get through a few weeks. And that's always been something that has been in a lot of the truth seeker and spiritual communities to get through this phase that we're currently in right now. And I can't think about how many times I've gone and got water and few bits and pieces, and doing it just didn't feel, it was like, I'm doing this, but there's this element of, will it really be necessary, but better to be safe than sorry. And last night, Lachie and I were having a bit of a conversation about, I think it's actually happening now. It's happening now. You can really see signs of that. And I was pulled into a really, really deep dream space. Dream space has just all of a sudden become really quite graphic over the last couple of days. And it felt like there was a heavy weight pressed on me. And I was in there, and every time I almost come up for air or try to wake up, I was like pushed back under to do whatever is happening on those multi-dimensional levels. The cleanup has begun. And I woke up just with one sort of phrase, and often that's what happens, is if it's heavy work that's happening, I wake up with one phrase, and the one sort of phrase or sentence that woke up was, all those other times were just preparation, but now is the actual time. So, I've spent the best part of today going to get just the basic necessities. There's no need to go crazy and hoard and buy, 15 billion, rolls of toilet paper, but just enough to sort of see through the next fortnight. And I stocked up on popcorn.
Nice.
That's so appropriate Zara, do you have anything that you want to add?
I have so much. I've been taking notes. I've had so many downloads and so many like realizations. Like, the majority of my work is very self-love based. And so I see everything kind of, I think Lachie said the perfect word, fractals, and I'm seeing everything in fractals, and there's like the micro and the macro, and I'm just seeing it on different levels. And what really comes to mind is 2020 vision. We're finally seeing it as 2020, and we're finally getting that 2020 vision. And I'm just really like, there's so much truth that is going to come out this year, just starting this year. It's already begun. And people who have been in the spiritual community or the truth seeking community, like I said, disclosure, whatever, like we've been waiting for this moment. It's kind of like a dream, and it's like you've wanted this dream for so bad that it's coming true, and it's really exciting. And I mean, that can also be true for our own individual personal journeys as well. My son, I was trying to explain to my son today why the store ran out of toilet paper, because we always meet up at the grocery store, and he's like, wow, like there's like what's happened? Everything's empty. And I tried to explain to him, I'm like, I'll tell you about it at home. So I sat down and talked to him about the coronavirus, and I just said, trying to explain quarantine to a 5-year-old. And I'm like, do you know what a virus is? And I was trying to explain to him, like, when you have a cold virus, when you catch a cold, and he's like, well, a virus is what infects the computer. And it just really hit that this virus is infecting this computer program, right? And so what does your body do when it gets a virus, right? It builds antibodies, and then it slowly starts to heal and break it down, right? It's not a bacteria. You don't need an antibiotic for it. Your body finds a way to deal with it, right? And to come out of it stronger. And, as you said, Alisha, a lot of us have gone through these like tower moments, these personal journeys where we have had these lives that we live that were built on falsities. We've had all these crashes in our lives of the things that didn't serve breaking down, and through the craziness of the losses, of the deaths, of the whatever, the job losses, the whatever we experienced, we found a way to not only heal ourselves but come out stronger, just like our antibodies do with a virus, right? And now we're seeing this on another layer still of what's happening when I don't know if we want to go there, but with what's happening globally, right? There's like you said, Lachie, like all these CEOs, these top CEOs of like these massive corporations, like are stepping down or resigning, or self-quarantining or whatever you want to call it. I mean, but there's so much more to it than that, and the people who have been paying attention are super excited about it, and then the people who haven't quite gotten there are freaking out. And if you think about your body, there's parts of your body that are freaking out that you have this virus and it doesn't know what to do, and you get sick, right? And that's the part of your body that gets sick. And then there's like some of us who like know what's up, and we're like the white blood cells, the antibodies that are like, let's fucking do this, like let's do this. And I'm so excited, like I can't even.
Well, I guess it. Okay, can I just pause you there, because maybe we should bring in a little bit about the QAnon and the movement and talk a little bit about, because I know that it's not something that I ever discuss on Cosmic Gateway, because I truly believe that there's so many great people out there bringing truth to light that I haven't felt as being my purpose. But it's something that I've been deep into since I've been 16, about learning about, the corruption and the violation of human rights and all that. And now that's what we're starting to see come to light. It's starting to be known. And so I guess there's a lot of, let's call them theories, for lack of a better word. But, that a lot of this quarantining is to really help aid getting people off the street, so there's not a lot of collateral damage while there are mass arrests being taken place, and the cleanup is truly going on, as we can see. So
right. I know when we were talking, I mentioned that it was it's quite easy for a celebrity simply to just declare that they have the coronavirus, that they're self-isolating, and then, you know, whatever would happen to them, whether they go to jail or whatever, that could quite easily be passed off as a cold and flu death or a corona death or whatever. So it just gives a lot of options for this vast change to happen. And it's actually really, I don't know, it's quite coincidental that it happened at that time, right when all these mass arrests were ready to go. Yeah, it's fascinating. So for those who don't really follow this, there's supposedly a military insider or a presidential insider called Q, who's been releasing a lot of stuff on 4chan, on a few of the anonymous channels, and basically saying that there's there's an evil cabal of people that are ruling over us. They're hidden all this technology from us, healing technology, anti-gravity, free energy, all sorts of things like that would really make Earth into a paradise. And they sort of have hidden that and kept that, so that they sort of keep us enslaved, essentially. And there's been a plan to remove that cabal of evildoers since JFK. And obviously that was why he was assassinated. So there's been sort of battles between light and dark, and they've been ongoing, and all these very strange small-scale earthquakes that happen around the globe that people that are clued in can sort of see that it's underground military bases that are being blown up by good guys and cleared out and such. So now this is coming to a head, and there's 160,000, I believe, unsealed indictments that are ready to go. And that's essentially the top echelons of the cabal, the people that do all the drug running for their funds, the human traffickers for the slaves, the CEOs that profit from it all, and money laundering and so on. And they're supposedly getting all arrested or executed or whatever would happen to them. Like that's all happening now. I don't think it's a coincidence that as soon as this sort of thing comes around, we have 40 or 50 of the top richest CEOs, like Bill Gates, just stepped down from Microsoft board. That's unprecedented. It's crazy, and it's all happening right now. So I don't know whether we're going to get full confirmation, as in like someone saying, okay, this is now it's done, or whether it'll just slowly, gradually, incrementally get better. But either way, it's a amazingly positive step for everyone.
It's an amazing step, for humanity and moving forward. And I think, there's so many different layers to this, because you take in bringing that down, and then obviously the energetic component of what's happening on the planet, as we're, less than a week away from Equinox, which has always been such a high velocity energy gateway. And it's just really interesting, the timing of it. And then we've got Easter straight after that, and I keep kind of looking towards Easter, keep feeling this energy of resurrection, of rebirth that's coming in. So it's oh God, I have so much to say, and just so little words that want to come out. But and then obviously the event, the energy event. Obviously, we've been having smaller waves come in for the last couple of years, and God, I've had so many questions in my mind today, and no one really knows how it's going to unfold. But the bringing down and the arrest, does that go hand in hand with the big surge of energy wave hitting the planet? Does one comes directly after the other, or is there in between? And one thing that came to my mind, I'll just share it, and I'm sure that I'm not the only person who's thought about this, is that in every BQH session that you hear, and I know that there was some concerns about people saying, where will I be when the event happens? Will I be at work? Will I be driving my car? All these sort of worries. Will I be with my family? How do I help support my family? Well, being quarantined at home kind of eliminates all of that too,
Right.
So,
you know, it's so exciting. And I told you, Alisha, I found that every time there's like this CME, there seems to be like another up leveling. And I realized that CME is a coronal mass ejection from the sun, right? And a lot of what we experience spiritually and physically is connected to all these other energies, right? And so I just thought it was cute and funny how it's a coronal mass ejection and it's a coronavirus. Like that can't be a coincidence. Maybe it is, but I thought that was really adorable.
You know, corona is like Spanish for crown, and so if you have a crown explosion, it's going, yeah.
The Great Awakening.
Which is really interesting, and I'll just like kind of embed in what has been like the most the thing that I've observed the most in energy sessions doing. I've been quite busy with work. There's a huge amount of fears that are coming up for people, and you know, one of the biggest patterns that I've seen is that a lot of past life memories distorting out of the crown chakra is what I've been seeing over and over again in sessions, which has guided me to run the transmission on the Equinox, and I'm going to be guiding this live transmission. You can catch on the replay. I'll put the details in the description box below if you feel that you want to join and be a part of it. But it's really apparent to me that a lot of us have lived through end of day scenarios in different lifetimes, whether it be Lemuria or Atlantis or Egypt, in some of these great civilizations that fell. And of course, when we're coming close to that in this time, it's going to bring up some very real fears for people because they've lived through that before. And that's primarily what I'm seeing transmute out of people at this moment. And it's coming out of the crown is literally how it's being presented. So, and there's a reversal energy of a lot of violet and gold coming through to replace that. And I've seen that time and time again. So it's really interesting to tie all that in. And connect the dots. So so this transmission, which will be on Friday the 20th at 2 p.m. Melbourne time, will be based around healing and releasing a lot of past life wounds and traumas to, whatever the soul, it's going to be very different for each individual, but I hope to sort of facilitate something like that we can work with the collective energies as well. Because if you think about it, if everyone's releasing that trauma, it's going out into the collective field, which is kind of then trying to stir and release that off the planet at this time.
Are you recording?
Yeah.
Oh, it says record? I didn't see it.
Don't do that to me all that. Oh, jeez.
I'm like, this has been a really good chat. I don't see the record. I think, so I'm personally going through something which I will share that is such a metaphor for what's going to happen next. And so I'm working with a medical professional that's doing a liver cleanse. And the way that these things work, which I had no idea, is that it actually pumps all the crazy chaos out into your system so your body has to deal with it, and then it comes out of you. So it's this act of cleaning something out, but all this madness happens. And I feel like what may happen is that there could be a whole lot of chaos and madness that happens, that ensues. This already started with people fighting over Clorox wipes and toilet paper. And I think that as things happen, with the financial markets, when things happen, with governments, when things happen with, the financial reserve and all that stuff, all these things that are going to happen, it's going to kind of puff out all this crazy, negative, painful, whatever crap as it needs to kind of process out. And I think that it's really important for us to recognize that could happen, and that is going to happen, and that for those of us that are aware to really stay in a place of faith and just see beyond the stuff, because I'm already noticing bursts of lower density experiences that are coming up that are trying to coax a negative response, and it's almost, I can see it's almost comical how it's happened. I mean, You know, I had a situation that personally came up today, and then after that, it's like, it's been extra clumsy. Like, I think things have been falling out of my hand, and it's just extra stuff that would normally kind of incite like a negative response, like, well, you know, F this, or why is this happening? But I think that it's like this last ditch attempt of like trying to like fight, like the dark trying to fight futilely. I don't know how to say that word. But I think it's really important for us to like recognize that, to see when that happens, and to not fall back down to that. Like, we have climbed so far up that mountain to get to where we are, that to not lose our footing.
Yeah, I think that's key, and that's really important, because I've seen throughout my own experience, and obviously many others that I've been working with, is that there's been some huge tests of faith and strength, and overcoming things that may have presented before, but at such a deeper level. And it feels like I keep getting this image of this, like, actually, this is based off this painting, so I'll bring, but there's this, like, I haven't finished it yet, but it'll do for now, but there's like this beautiful egg, and then all of a sudden it starts to crack open, and it's like scared to crack it open because you don't know what's inside it, but there's actually a lot of beauty and a lot of love that wants to come out and be explored. But it's like the fear of what happens if it breaks, what happens next, that kind of feeling. And so I think it's really important for people to stay as present as possible, and to be objective as possible, and not go into the fear. There's enough fear, running around. I know that there's so many of us who are holding strong and holding the light and the love, and we've been through a lot of our own darkness to come through, and we know what's on the other side of that. But for so many other people who are just cracking that egg open, there's so much unknown and uncertainty, and facing a lot of fears. So I guess it's really time, like Lachie was saying earlier, to be there for the neighbor or the best friend or whoever in your life, who's just sort of coming on board now, because it's happening in the millions, and will continue to do so.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I think one of the key things that you can do just on an everyday basis, like what you touched on, Zara, is just purely focus on keeping your vibration levels high. And it doesn't matter if you do that by going for walks or playing video games or exercising or whatever. It's just that act of keeping your vibrations high and engaging in things you find pleasurable and having that feeling of joy. That's the key to manifesting better things in the future. That's the key to helping other people. It's not doesn't require like a whole lot of mental effort, like telepathically helping them or whatever, but it's just purely keeping yourself on a high vibrational level. That's the key. That's something that I've been practicing quite a bit over here. It's good. It's worked well.
Yeah. Inward reflection and meditation, is a must. Energy hygiene, all that stuff that we've been learning and putting into practice. It's now, well, there's almost like no option. That is, yeah.
This becomes such a routine, such a practice. It's funny because Alisha, you and I were joking earlier today. It's like every man for themselves. It's like every light worker for themselves at this point. I think there's this false sense of morality or righteousness that I'm seeing all across social media, where people are, some people are, doing acts that are, not cool. They're hoarding, they're doing all these horrible things. And then everyone else is like jumping on the hating on the bad people bandwagon, thinking that they're being righteous. And they're having such a judgment about these other people. But what we know from our own journeys is that we all are at the point in our journey where we need to be. And, if there are people out there that are going to act that way, that's their journey and that's where they're at, and like having a judgment against them is hurting ourselves. We're taking that energy on. It's like the opposite of energy hygiene is energy unhygiene. Okay, my brain's broken. Okay, guys. I'm so like bombarded by people who with this like false sense of righteousness, and that's not that's not necessarily high vibe, you know.
Right.
And Lachie, you bring up such a good point. Like, keep your vibe up. So
Yeah, a lot of people just simply want to use that righteousness as a excuse to hate and to feel good about being better than other people. But realistically, they're just simply judging from a position that they can't judge from. They don't know the people, they don't know the past lives, they don't know the situation involved. So they're,
Yeah,
people
and I
tend
think
to forget the first part of the saying, judge not lest you be judged, It's literally judge not.
and I think that at the moment it's giving such opportunity for people to work through fears of mortality and sickness and disease and not having enough. I think we've all, whether in this lifetime or in others, we've all gone through famine and sickness and all these different things. And of course, but when faced with that in your reality, it's going to bring up those memories so that they can be released. So yeah, judging, you don't know that person, you don't know their soul's journey, and they're doing what they see as the most important thing. And I think one thing that we can all say is that I've been through great loss along my awakening journey, and I know that both of you have too. But what we do know is that you're always taken care of. There's always enough. Even when, even when it doesn't seem, or it seems hopeless, there's always something that comes through just at the most important moment. So, that's probably one of the greatest lessons that we can learn, in this physical body is that we are always provided and taken care of. And maybe this is a time for the masses to experience it and go through one of the most important lessons that we can go through. So, but always trust your intuition. If you do feel that you need to stock up on a few bits and pieces just to get through the next fortnight, I think that that's also wise as well. Doesn't mean go crazy, but just to have a few bits and pieces, especially animals. That's been my number one concern. Make sure I have enough for the pups, because I know I can go a week without food, because if you're working in a high vibration, going back to what you guys were saying, your body sustains on light energy, and you can go for very long periods of time. Not that I'm recommending that, but it is possible if you're working with those high vibrations. And take this opportunity to clear out your energy field. If you need to book a session or seek someone to support you through that, if it is a challenging time for you. But I think it's also a time to speak up, because I think a lot of people in the spiritual community stick to the spiritual community because it's safe. But I think now is a time to share knowledge and information with people who may not be so open, just to help ease their minds so that they can, whether they take it on board or not, but at least you can offer them some sort of perspective in what's happening in the bigger picture.
Yeah, at least at the very least, share faith, share that pump out that there is nothing to fear, that there's no fear, because there's so much fear mongering out there that if you may not want to talk about Q, you may not want to talk about Trump, you may not want to talk about all that stuff. That's cool. You don't need to go out there and talk to people about that, but like just pump that faith out there and just remind people. You said to stock up on necessities. Absolutely true. What if also on top of stocking up on, food items and medication and period products, why not also stock up on art supplies and books to read? And like, we might not have the internet, we might not have, we might not, we don't know what's going to happen, but this is an opportunity to really express our creativity, to learn something new, to read that book that we've been storing and never had a chance to, or start dabbling in coloring or painting or whatever it is, to like really just kind of like channel that love through you, whatever that looks like, that inspiration, because this is going to be a really crazy time, but it's going to be so good.
Beautifully said. I know that's a big portion of where I, besides observing and spending time with my dogs. I've been creating art, and that's about it, you know, amongst, you know, doing sessions. That sort of be my life. And I kind of love, because like this isn't going to impact my life at all, because I feel like I'm in self quarantine. I have been for years just to keep my energy and vibration up. So, you know, nothing really changes in my life, but I know that it's a big change for a lot of people, and I'm not taking away the seriousness of it, but, you know, going within and having that reflection space to understand and remember who you are is the most important thing you can do. And I think this is a great opportunity for a lot of people to do that without the distractions of the outside world. So yeah, absolutely. Art, reading, learn. Take this opportunity to learn as much as you can about yourself and, you know, things that you love. So yeah.
And communicate with the person that you're at home with. If you're going to be in quarantine with your children or with your family members or with the spouse or whatever, like really connect with them on a really deep level. Like take this opportunity to like really connect, you know, because it's so hard for us to connect with people because we're always in our phone. We're always, you know, trying to distract, and, you know, we may not have those distractions. Now I have this opportunity.
Yeah, I can see how this is so healing for people on a family level, you know, because I think a lot of us have joined and found our soul family and kind of put our physical family and the people in our life kind of to one side because they've been in the too hard basket. And this is also an opportunity for some people to make those stronger connections, and people bond through trauma and chaos. So, you know, I think there's a lot of love and beauty to come out from this. So I don't know if you guys have anything more. I mean, we could talk about this for a long time, but I'm conscious of time too, and I know it's late for you, Zara. I do have some beautiful artwork, so we can do some intuitive guidance messages, but I just wanted to open and throw back the forum to you guys if there's anything else that you wanted to share.
You know, there's so many great resources out there. And I know that, Alisha, you said you don't report on this, and I don't either. I kind of dabble a little bit in my last couple of posts, but I really don't talk about it. There are some great resources out there, some great places you can learn. So if you are curious to know about what the Great Awakening is, what is Q, what is all this stuff, I don't know, Alisha, if I can put in the comments, or some of my favorites. My favorite right now is Cosmic Origins. Jace Kulesa is a good friend of mine, and he's done such a phenomenal job of like explaining, condensing like this, the enormity of everything into like very digestible normie terms. He's very grounded in the way that he speaks. I had the privilege of learning about this from him when he stayed at my house a couple years ago, and so I've been kind of like following along, bumping along, but he's a great one. There's some other really great resources as well. So I don't know if you want to share that out for people who may be interested. And if you're not, if this is not what you want to know, you don't need to know. It doesn't change reality if you don't want to know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to do that because I've been following along. You know, Jace has got some amazing content that he's been putting out there. And I think what you said, he puts it in such a loving way, you know, not in a fearful way. So I will put, if you want to learn more about the Q movement, I'll put in the description box where you can find his page and his information. So thank you, Jace, for the work that you do. Maybe we'll get him on here and have a discussion one day.
Well, for me, like one of the things that I'm doing to I suppose increase my connectivity with the world, I've just switched over from a normal cell phone to an old rotary telephone that I carry with me everywhere. Signal's terrible, but you know, I get a lot more done and talk to people. So I don't know where to plug it in though.
Do you just like walk around with the wire just hanging?
Yeah. I thought I might get some good reception, but no.
Thank you, Lachie. Human number one. Everyone needs a Lachie.
No, that's fine for me. That's fine for me. I'm really amazed to see how clearly it's manifesting in both individually inside us and outside as well. It's pretty crazy to see that. Like, I'm not sure if you guys remember the movie Inception.
I've only
They've got
seen
a
it.
scene where, get on it, dude. It's the best. You got to.
Okay.
They've got a scene where they venture. Hey.
Talking about fractals.
Exactly. Well, they venture into this, one of the characters' subconscious, and they say, like, we're gonna, we stayed here for a while. We built cities in our dreams, and you just see the cities start going up, and then they say, oh, and then we got bored from it, and they just get old and turn and start crumbling, like in the background, and it just feels literally like you're in Inception at the moment. So that's been blowing my mind lately.
That's, you know what, hang on. What you said right there about Inception and how they just created it in their mind, like, holy smokes, we're creating this experience in our minds. If you're going to go in there with this, like, oh my God, this is going to be horrible or whatever, it's going to manifest that way. If you're going to go in there with, like, this hopeful, it's going to manifest that way. Sorry.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I think one of the messages that came through to me today was, like, the physical element is only 10% of what we need to focus on. The rest is more in, our mental state, our emotional state, our energetic embodiment state. And I've been feeling, and I know a lot of people have been kind of calling it out, that Equinox will be a pivotal point for a lot of people who've been pathing the way to go through a higher threshold, a higher jump in their own frequency, and help support the planet make that jump as well. So however that looks and how that manifests, but remember that there's all those components too. And when you're in that higher vibration, obviously you're not in the reality of disease or sickness. So we've lost Lachie. He's frozen.
Oh no! Bye, Lachie.
So let's get into it. Hopefully we can get him back for the intuitive guidance. But these are the cards. So choose the one that resonates the most with you. This will be card A, or reading A. This one here. And we've got B, card B. And then lucky last, we've got C. Don't you like that? So tune in and we'll catch you over on the individual reads. Mwah. Thank you for watching. Much love. Bye.